People believe recovery means giving up pleasure, but to get better, you have to become controlled, restrained, safe. But that's not exactly true, because the same system that warns you about pleasure promotes alcohol, distraction, and sedation every day. So it's not pleasure that's the problem, it's which pleasure you're allowed to feel. And that raises a bigger issue. If joy has to be controlled, measured, or permitted, then who actually decides what feeling is acceptable? And if recovery removes pleasure instead of restoring it, what exactly are we recovering into? Drugs and Addiction, an Anarchist Perspective, Dickie Dredd. This is part 67 in the video series of Chapter 9, Beyond Abstinence. Section 68. Pleasure reclaimed, joy as resistance. If addiction is the corruption of pleasure, recovery must include its reclamation. For too long, medicine has confused sobriety with suppression, mistaking absence of euphoria for evidence of health. Yet, as sections 54 to 56 showed, rhythm, embodiment, and creativity are not indulgences but necessities. Pleasure is the body's way of confirming connection. To abolish it is to abolish life itself. The task is not to renounce delight, but to unlearn domination, to feel without needing to consume. Modern cultures of control mistrust joy precisely because it escapes measurement. The same logic that reduced well-being to productivity reframed ecstasy as error. Celebration became suspect, festivals criminalised, spontaneous laughter pathologised as mania. The chemical high was condemned, yet the same society celebrated binge drinking and prescribed sedation. This double standard reveals pleasure's political charge. As Foucault warned, power regulates bodies not only through punishment, but through permission. Who may feel, how much, and when. Anarchist recovery challenges that calculus. It insists that pleasure can be ethical when it is mutual, conscious, and freely chosen. Within a community, dance, music, and sensual contact reclaim the nervous system from the monotony of fear. Winckelmann showed that rhythmic synchrony releases oxytocin, and endorphins, biochemistry retuned to trust. Such experiences transform pleasure from commodity to commons, a shared state rather than a purchased one. They continue the integration described in section 54, where the body learns to inhabit itself again. This redefinition also exposes the hypocrisy of prohibition. As Nutt demonstrated, legal substances such as alcohol and tobacco cause far greater harm than many banned psychedelics or empathogens, yet the former sustain profit and conformity, while the latter encourage reflection and solidarity. The state fears altered consciousness not because it kills, but because it questions. Joy becomes rebellion, satisfaction a threat to the market. Every collective moment of ecstasy undermines the loneliness on which consumption depends. Pleasure, in this light, is both therapy and resistance. It interrupts the economy of scarcity by proving that fulfillment need not be bought. A free meal shared, a song sung in unison, a night spent laughing without purchase. These are acts of quiet insurrection. As I argue, the revolution of care begins when happiness stops requiring permission. To recover pleasure is therefore to reclaim agency over sensation, to decide when to open and when to rest. Of course, not all pleasure heals. Addiction demonstrates how easily joy becomes compulsion when divorced from meaning. The difference lies in awareness. Marte described healthy pleasure as presence without escape, enjoyment that deepens rather than distracts. In anarchist practice, this awareness is cultivated through ritual, consent and reflection. The dance followed by the debrief, the high followed by the harvest. Pleasure integrated becomes gratitude. Pleasure hoarded becomes hunger. A return of joy thus completes recovery's circle. Section 49 exposed the disease model's fixation on control. Section 65 reframed freedom as autonomy. Here the two converge. Pleasure as the felt freedom, proof of freedom. When people can delight in their own aliveness without shame or supervision, the war on drugs loses its final weapon. What cannot be punished cannot be governed. To laugh, to love, to move without fear. This is the most subversive cure of all. Pleasure was never the problem. control over it is. Because once you see that joy can exist without consumption, without permission, without supervision, the entire logic to prohibition starts to fall apart. Which means the system isn't just regulating harm, it's regulating experience itself. So if the real threat isn't drugs, but people finding connection, meaning and joy without buying it, what does that say about the system trying to stop them? And if that's true, then the question isn't how we control addiction anymore. It's what happens when people stop needing the system at all. Next up on Chapter 9, still beyond abstinence, we got Section 69, Freedom of Continuity, the politics of lasting care.